Welcome back to our Introduction to Causal Inference course. In today's video, I want to finish our discussion about the required conditions for estimating causal effects. So over the last videos, we discussed the three main conditions or prerequisites for estimating the average causal effect, and in the last two videos, we discussed the components for a well-defined causal contrast. And today, I want to wrap up our discussion about this topic. So in the last two videos, we used this terminology of a well-defined causal contrast, and we said that we need the causal contrast to be well-defined for us to be able to interpret the causal effect that we're estimating. But in the literature, this notion of a well-defined causal contrast often is called by the name of stable unit treatment value assumption, or SUTVA for short. And essentially, whenever SUTVA holds, we have that the causal contrast is well-defined. And this is because SUTVA implies that the potential outcomes are unique in a given individual. And this uniqueness of individual level potential outcomes follows from the fact that SUTVA postulates that an individual's potential outcome does not depend on one, the exposure status of other individuals, and two, the mechanism used to assign the exposure. And those two components are actually the same components we discussed when we were talking about a well-defined causal contrast. And indeed, component 1 here is clearly absence of interference. And component 2 of SUTVA is actually equivalent to exposure variation irrelevance. But it might not be obvious at first that exposure variation irrelevance is the same as saying that the mechanism used to assign the exposure has no implication for the potential outcome. So for us to understand the second component of SUTVA, let us think about an example. And in this example, we have a cohort study assessing the effect of weight gain over 3 years on fasting blood glucose. So our exposure here is weight gain and our outcome is fasting blood glucose. And to make things simple, we are going to focus our attention only on two individuals in this study. Both of them are males, have 40 years of age, and both had 80 kilograms at the baseline of the cohort, as well as 20% body fat percentage, and similar levels of fasting blood glucose, both of them within the pre-diabetes range. And assume both of them gained 8 kilos during the study. So would you expect similar change in fasting blood glucose in both individuals? The two individuals are very similar, and both of them gained the exact same weight over the course of the study. However, suppose that individuals 1 glucose levels went down to healthy levels, and individuals 2 glucose levels actually went up and above typical cutoffs for diagnosing diabetes. So individuals 1 health got better and individuals 2 health got worse. In this situation, would we conclude that there is causal effect heterogeneity? That is, would we expect that the effect of weight gain on individual 1 is different than the effect of weight gain on individual 2? So for us to interpret the difference that we observed between the two individuals, let us bring some more detail to the conversation. Suppose, for example, that after enrollment in the study, individual 1 started exercising regularly and eating a healthy diet rich in protein. Then he gained 80 kilograms in weight by gaining 12 kilograms of lean mass and losing 4 kilograms of fat. So notice that individual 1 gained weight, but his body composition actually got better, and now he went from 20% body fat percentage to under 14% body fat. And suppose individual 2, after enrollment in the study, remained sedentary and started eating more junk food than before, then he gained 8 kilos by losing 2 kilograms of lean mass and gaining 10 kilograms of fat. So even though he gained 8 kilos in total, the same as individual 1, individual's 2 body composition actually got worse, going from 20% to almost 30% body fat levels. So notice that both individuals belong to the same exposure level. Both of them gain 8 kilos. But the mechanism that assigned them to the group 8 kilograms increase in weight is very different. With that in mind, what is the likely source of the difference in their change in fasting blood glucose? Remember, in case of individual 1, fasting blood glucose levels improved, and individual 2, fasting blood glucose levels got worse. In this example, it is rather clear that the reason why the two individuals had different changes in fasting blood glucose over the course of the study is that they had very different mechanisms that produced the exposure, gaining 8 kilograms over 3 years. And in this situation, we would say that component 2 of SUTVA is violated, because an individual can be assigned to a given exposure level through very different mechanisms. And these different mechanisms may result in different potential outcomes. So we can understand that schematically as follows. We have an assignment mechanism, the mechanism that causes an individual to be in a given exposure level. But if the same exposure level can be produced by different assignment mechanisms, we can have multiple exposure levels within the same exposure level, and this would lead to non-unique potential outcomes if those different versions of the exposure level have different potential outcomes associated with them. So in our example, the different assignment mechanisms would be exercising and eating a healthy diet versus no exercise and eating junk food. And the two versions of the same exposure level would be a gain of 12 kilograms of lean mass and a loss of 4 kilograms of fat, and the other version would be a loss of 2 kilograms of lean mass and a gain of 10 kilograms of fat. And each one of those versions of the exposure level gaining 8 kilograms over 3 years would be related to different potential outcomes. The top one would be related to a decrease in glucose levels, and the bottom one would be related to an increase in blood glucose levels. And from this schematic representation, we can actually understand the relationship between the second component of SUTVA and exposure variation irrelevance. When we discussed about exposure variation irrelevance before, we just said that there might be multiple versions of the exposure within a given exposure level. And if those different versions were associated with different potential outcomes in a given individual, the individual level causal effect would be ill-defined. So we needed those different versions of the exposure within a given exposure level to be related to the same potential outcomes in a given individual. But we said nothing about why those different versions of the same exposure level might exist. And this is what we're talking about now. We're saying that if different assignment mechanisms produce the same exposure level, it is possible that different assignment mechanisms produce different versions of the exposure within the same exposure level. So for component 2 of SUTVA to be true, we either need the situation where the different assignment mechanisms don't produce different versions of the same exposure level, or that such different versions of the same exposure level are associated with the same potential outcomes in a given individual. So notice that the two things, exposure variation irrelevance and the second component of SUTVA, are closely related. When we're talking about the assignment mechanism, the only difference is that we're discussing why there might be different versions of the same exposure level, but the same idea of exposure variation irrelevance applies here. And finally, I just wanted to reinforce why we need the causal contrast to be well defined. That is, why we need SUTVA to hold. We have discussed this already in a more sort of intuitive way, and now I wanted to be slightly more formal about it. So the reason why we need SUTVA is for consistency to hold. But what is consistency? Consistency is the assumption that postulates that among exposed individuals, the observed outcome equals the potential outcome under exposure, and similarly for unexposed individuals. That is, among those, the observed outcome equals the potential outcome under unexposure. In other words, the observed outcome in a given individual corresponds to the potential outcome associated with the exposure that the individual actually received. And although this notion is very intuitive and we have indeed used it before when we discussed exchangeability, it is important to note that consistency is only justified when SUTVA holds, that is, when the causal contrast is well defined. And as I said, we have discussed this before. In the previous two videos, we saw that when either of the two components required for well-defined causal contrast are not satisfied, then our very definition of individual level causal effect is ill-defined, is ambiguous. But to see this in a slightly more formal way, let us focus our attention on a generic individual, which I'm calling individual 1, and I'm assuming this individual is exposed. And suppose there are two versions of being exposed, each denoted by A and B respectively. As in our previous example, we had one exposure level gaining 8 kilos, but there were two versions of it. So in the general case where the assignment mechanism might influence the potential outcome, or when there might be interference, the observed outcome of individual 1 corresponds to the potential outcome in the situation where the exposure status of individual 1 is either A or B, and I don't know which one it is because being exposed corresponds to each one of those versions. And also, because I'm not ruling out interference yet, I also need to describe the potential outcome, making reference to the exposure status of other individuals in the population. But now, if I assume no interference, the exposure status of other individuals is irrelevant, so I can describe the observed outcome of individual 1 only with reference to the exposure status of individual 1, but I still have some ambiguity here because I don't know which version of the exposure I'm talking about. This is where exposure variation irrelevance comes into play, because if I assume exposure variation irrelevance, then the potential outcome under exposure to exposure level A is equal to exposure to level B, and therefore being exposed to either level is the same. That is, the variation in the exposure level is irrelevant, and therefore the potential outcome corresponding to exposure is unique, because it don't matter to what version of being exposed I am exposed to, I have the same potential outcome. So really, this is just a more sort of formal and compact way of seeing why we need SUTVA, why we need the causal contrast to be well defined, and this is something we have discussed already in the 2 previous videos. So really what I wanted to talk about today was to introduce this notion of SUTVA and show you that it is equivalent to our previous lectures on a well-defined causal contrast. I also wanted to present this notion of assignment mechanism and how it is related to exposure variation irrelevance. And I also wanted to reinforce that SUTVA, or a well-defined causal contrast, is required for consistency of potential outcomes. So I hope this video was useful for you. And in the next one, we're going to finally wrap up lecture 1. And I will also provide some exercises for you to review and practice what you've learned. See you then.